The question is, if someone basically doesn't opt to stay being serviced by a particular planner and they're a trustee, where does the money go?
In the real world, you've got people who go on holidays and they travel and they don't answer emails, and you have people just very bad on administrative issues who choose not to respond. If they find themselves, as I understand it, in a situation where they haven't responded and they're excommunicated by the advisor because the advisor faces civil action, to quote FOFA, no one's quite sure what happens then in terms of whether or not professional indemnity carries forward, whether the advisor is in fact excommunicated from pursuing the advisor for ongoing advice, and then someone holds an orphan client. And the dark side of that is somewhat ironically, that will benefit institutions because orphan clients have always been an issue. Someone has to look after them, and my tip is the back office ownership will end up looking after them.
Do we really think when a large organization buys a dealer group that they don't expect it to support their platform? And do we really think that when an advisor has a client and the client is opted out, that the institution isn't going to think that they own the client? I mean, why would you buy them? You wouldn't. It just doesn't make commercial sense, and it's not a very practical outcome for them. And I think it's time that we actually face the facts. This is part of the new world, and people have to contractually or otherwise deal with these issues so that they protect their client base in these situations.
I think the three of us representing wrap-style platforms have dial-up advice fees. So if the client opts out, those fees disappear. So we're not profiting from the fact that a client opts out. To the point around who owns the client and where the responsibility lies, there's a fundamental difference in the cost of servicing an advised client to servicing a client directly. So you need a call centre, you need from a super perspective, you need all of the trustee and fiduciary, factors that go around managing their investments and defaults and things like that. So there is a difference in sort of servicing costs. So from that perspective, it would make sense to charge the client more. Now, I'm not saying that's something that we're doing, and obviously our business model isn't set up for that, but we're absolutely and fundamentally committed to having that client be aligned with an advisor. So our first step is going back to their advisor and saying, re-engage this client, try and talk to them. Our second step, go to their dealer group. Can you allocate them to a new advisor? Our third step, all right, if you don't want advice and you fundamentally don't believe in that, what can we offer you to sort of self-service? And that's sort of the last step though, because I think it is very important that they stay with that advisor, and even from a commercial perspective, it makes sense for our business as well. Do you guys?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. Yeah, I mean, we're structured that way where it is the PDS and everything is around, the assumption is there is an advisor there. So we're in a similar boat to both Kelly and Renato. We have to find another advisor for that client to be able to keep them on the platform, and if they don't want to, then we're going through a process of actually moving them off the platform.
It's ultimately the client's decision. This is what we're missing, right? It's not the advisor's decision. A letter has gone to the customer. The customer has chosen to opt out. 9 out of 10 times, this is not going to be the advisor's decision.
Absolutely true. The end consumer sentiment at the moment, what we're seeing is actually quite different to that, and that's really driven by stuff coming out of some of the consumer research we do. The use of planners is actually dropping off. So whether it be advisors, in fact, I won't just exclude, I won't just target planners. It's actually the use of advisors across the piece, whether it be a financial planner, in some cases an accountant, or in some cases a stockbroker, and that's mainly being driven out of concerns around trust and value proposition. A lot of consumers in all parts of the spectrum, from high net worth down to just members of a super fund, whether it be an industry super fund or whatever, effectively saying, I'm not actually getting value, and actually fundamentally saying, I think I can actually do it better myself.
And on that note, I'd like to bring the panel to an end. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, Mike.